Absolutely beautiful astrology soulmates. It's me, Stormie Grace, and welcome to your weekly horoscope for the week of February 3rd, where this week we see that we're going to have a Mercury-Jupiter trine that I think is just absolutely pristine, really useful for us this week. We're also going to see that Jupiter comes direct this week. Venus is moving into Aries. We've got the first quarter moon, so there is a lot going on in the sky. Now, if you are interested in finding out what the week has to offer for you in the general energy, this is definitely the video for you. You'll be able to click into the timestamps down below to find out what's going on each day. So make sure you check it out. But if you want a bigger picture of what is going on, make sure you check out your February horoscopes as well. Make sure that you have checked out also your 2025 horoscope so that you can see what's going on all year long. Sorry about that. But you want to make sure that you're as tapped into the energy as is available so that as the world is changing out there, and my goodness, isn't it? You can see the pockets where your energy, at least in a general, are able to function very well, where you can go with it no matter what else is happening in the world. You can move a little bit more easily or know to navigate in a different way. Now, at the end of the day, the very best astrology is going to be your astrology. It's got to happen from your chart. So first things first, please make sure that you have your own natal chart. If you don't have one already, go to Cafe Astrology, go get a free natal chart online so that you can look at these transits against your own chart. And if you don't know what to do with that, come book a session with myself or one of the other brilliant astrologers in this community that are well trained and ready to help guide you so that you can see a clear way forward. Now, if you're ready to be a part of this changing world and you have information, skills, talents, something that you can share to help people, especially people in need, then I would really love to have you in my upcoming live YouTube course. We have a 5-day YouTube challenge. It is starting in March. We do 5 live Saturdays. I'm going to give you an assignment. I'm not only going to show you how to create your YouTube content so that it can get found, get picked up by the algorithm, but I'm also going to show you the many different ways on how you can turn it into a resource for your business, for your family. The times are changing. You may not be earning the same way you used to. So now let's bring your knowledge out to actually make an impact and help people while also helping your own household. And if you are ready to go beyond that, you are ready to be your own astrologer, but you really need to get your transits under your belt, join me in April for the transit course. And that course is just $67 for all 5 weeks. Any of these things that can help you make the astrology real and help you live your most empowered life, please click in the description box down below. Take advantage so it can be really good for you. All right, into the week we go. So right here on Monday, as we are coming in Monday, we're actually coming in early days with the moon in the vibration of Aries. So it can feel early in the day on Monday, like there's a little bit of a fighter's energy going on. It's a bit fiery. Now, the ruling planet of that lunation is still retrograde, so there can also be a lot of heightened sensitivity, especially about me, who am I, what do I do, my security, my safety, all of these questions could be really heightened. But very quickly behind that, at 3:19 a.m. going all the way until 8:33 p.m., we're going to see that the moon shifts into the position of void, of course. So on Monday, I would tell you Monday is a day of, first of all, there's going to be a lot of pause. There's going to be a lot of finishing, working on what's already going on, addressing things that are already on your plate. And then right in the midst of that, we're going to see that the Mercury and Jupiter trine come together. Now, if you remember me talking about it last week or in your monthly horoscope, you know that this is a place here as we're at the beginning of February where, first of all, you want to dip into a little bit of the sweetness. We've got a stellium happening in Pisces. Venus and Neptune have come together in Pisces. So there is a sweetness and ease that is available to us in these first days of February. But as Mercury and Jupiter come together, it's a combination of the smaller mind and information that we are giving and disseminating and sharing out and gathering people in our network. So it's a high networking energy. And then Jupiter, who's the big mind, the big picture of how we're going to solve things, or the big picture of philosophies we've had that, or truths that have governed our lives. Now, Jupiter is still retrograde. So as we're experiencing them in a trine, this is a sweet, sweet energy for all things that have to do with communication. If you needed to go back over a contract, you need to sign a contract, you need to do that writing, you need to work on a collaboration, you need to have some kind of really important conversation, especially conversations that are about networking or connecting. Monday is going to be your day to be able to do that. Now, the one thing I would say to keep in mind, because when Jupiter is retrograde, sometimes that energy can act a little bit more like a Saturnian energy. And it's like you want to overshare, or you're sharing in a way where you don't, you're not saying this is my opinion. You're like, this is the truth. This is the only way there is. This is the only truth that there is. And this comes out with actual problem behind it. It's almost like you overshared in some way. That's the one thing I would tell you to be mindful of. Okay. Now, just behind that, we're going to see that this Mars that's retrograde is going to come into a square with Chiron. Okay. Now, as Mars, who's over in Cancer, comes into a square with Chiron that's in Aries, this is a squaring. This is a pushing against the wound. But instead of it being just problematic, instead of it's just, this is painful to me, I don't like it, it's challenging me, I'm afraid. This is an energy, I think, of perseverance. It is the thing where you remember that you can do hard things. You can do hard things, you can have the hard conversation, you can make a decision and say the thing and commit to it, you can share the information. And it's like you get to see here that, courage is not the absence of fear. It's that you're doing it anyways and stepping more into that plane of faith. Now, one of the other things I want to say here is that because Mars is squaring against Chiron that's in Aries, Aries is ruled by Mars, which is that retrograde energy. If there are the portions of you or your identity, what you believe about yourself, depending on where Chiron's at in your chart, you may be looking at ideals or identities of your country, your community, your family, and you feel like they're unhealed and they're really being challenged. I want you to remember that what you're looking at, how you're perceiving it, is actually a mirror reflecting back to you something that could really be going on. And the nice part about it is sometimes the mirror reflects something back to us and you're like, wow, I'm really healed from that. I don't have that belief anymore, right? So this can be an energy that, depending on what comes up for you, remember there's a lot of perseverance to do what needs to be done, even in the face of fear, but also to look squarely at yourself and what your perceptions are bringing to your attention. Just beyond that, when we get to 8:33 p.m., and this is Mountain Time, Colorado time, we're going to see that the moon now shifts into the more grounding energy of Taurus. Okay. Taurus is going to bring us to this place where once a month we're checking in on, where do I need to ground? Where do I need to root to rise? Where do I need to be in a space of my comfort zone, right? The things that make me comfortable, they make me happy. I've got these creature comforts. We're evaluating our relationships. We're looking at the body and how you're feeding and nourishing the body. We're looking at your values, going all through the way that your values, your current set of values, especially emotionally, are nurturing your life. Are you putting content and information and beliefs and values into your tender heart that is very, very fertile? Are you putting things in there that you want to sprout and grow and be really fruitful for you? Are you aligned with values that are not really yours? This is going to be a day where I would tell you to look from root to tip emotionally at what you have planted in your own emotional garden, because it's going to be giving rise and growth to whatever has been planted, for good or for ill. Now, just a day later on Tuesday, we see that Venus, the ruling planet of that Taurus moon, shifts into the vibration of Aries. Now, remember that, again, Mars is retrograde, Mars being that ruling planet of Aries. So there's this really dynamic energy going on with Venus and Mars in their dance this month in general. First of all, as Venus moves into this position of Aries, it's doing it in pre-retrograde shadow time, So Venus is slowed down and starting to get ready for this retrograde energy that is going to be coming up March 2nd. And Venus now, even in Aries, is looking at how do I draw things to me? Because Venus is not a hustle hard planet. It's how do I draw things to me? What is my value? What am I actually calling to me in my relationships, in love, in money, in my own self-esteem and self-worth, how I'm presenting myself? How am I being assertive enough to call to me what it is that I want and what that I need? And really, whenever Venus gets involved, I think that the flat out question becomes, looking at what do I value, because what I value is what I'm engaging, is what is coming to me. So this is such a big time in the changing world to really look at and get clear about what do you value so that you can assertively and enthusiastically put that out into the world and attract back to you exactly what you would like to experience. Remember, Aries is a lot more bold. It's a lot more passionate energy. But with Mars being retrograde in that Cancerian space, you're having to relook over, what do I call home? What do I call family? Where am I stuck in something in the past? Where can I release this so that I can move towards embracing something in the future? What is my security? What would actually make me feel secure in my life today, in my relationship today? So Venus will bring that kind of energy in. Now, just behind that, we see Jupiter coming direct in the vibration of Gemini at 11 degrees. So please make sure that you are checking your own chart for that 11 degrees of Gemini. What is this lighting up for you? Because over these last handful of months, Jupiter, it's not uncommon for Jupiter to go retrograde. It goes retrograde every year. So just to say that this isn't like when Venus goes retrograde every couple years. Jupiter goes retrograde every year for about 4 months. And we have this time where we have to go back to our own inner world and look at, what are the higher themes, the higher philosophies, the higher connections to a higher power? What do we believe? What is our faith? Where do we lean into for some kind of faith? Where do we get our answers? What do we believe about foreign travel, foreign countries? These kinds of things, the higher truths that expand our horizons. So as Jupiter has been retrograde, you've been looking at that. And Gemini provides a space where you've been also reviewing information that you have been taught. Now, one of the interesting things that I want to point out in a global perspective is something that happened in the media. And there's lots to be said about a lot of things, but we're going to try and keep it kind of tame. During the Jupiter retrograde in Gemini, one of the things that happened is that TikTok was shut down and banned for like 17 hours. In the meantime, we had American and British people jumping onto the Chinese app Red Note. Now, this is controversial, whatever it is, but I want to highlight the Gemini piece here. What started to happen was two things. One, Chinese people started to teach classes of basic Mandarin to Americans, and Americans started to teach and hold sessions to practice English with Chinese people on Red Note, right? And then they were sharing customs and cultures and how do we behave in that space. It's a very Gemini thing where we've got two dual energies and they're sharing information in some kind of network. The other thing that I think is so pronounced is that what also happened there was they started to make these tag videos back and forth where Americans were like, what have you been told or taught about us as Americans? And we'll tell you what we've been told and taught about you. So an exchange of information that is Jupiterian expands and changes an entire perspective or a higher philosophy of something that you've been taught really started to show up. And it was something I think that was really amazing to see happen. So when we drop that down into your own life and your own world, you might have gathered a lot of information, a lot of data could have come in. And now you're actually going back over that to see if that's the right truth, if that is in alignment, if that has factual enough information to help you expand your horizons. So we'll definitely be seeing that. And of course, Jupiter and Venus are also going to play into the finances, into the tariffs and the trade things that we've got going on the global stage as well. when we get to Wednesday, we've got a first quarter moon happening at 16 degrees of Taurus. As we come to the place of this first quarter moon, first of all, it's a time of knowing that people, places, and things, energies that are no longer in alignment with the new moon energy that you set in motion May 8th of 2024, those things are going to start to fall out. The universe is going to rip and pull them out because it's going to weed the garden of your life and say, you don't need that. It doesn't fit the vibration. It doesn't fit the new value. It doesn't fit the new economy. It's not working, right? And as that is happening, your job at this first quarter moon is to look at where you're going to be in action with the new moon intentions that you requested back again May 8th of 2024. Now, as you're in this building phase at this first quarter, you're taking a lot of action. It's not perfect. This isn't what it's going to be in the end. There's still a lot to sort out, but you're taking action on building what you requested and called in. What are you building in your finances? What are you building in your relationship? What are you building in your self-esteem, your value? Again, do you have information that you could be sharing and putting out and monetizing and helping your fellow man while also letting it be spiritually balanced and paying you a reasonable wage? These are going to be questions in the job market as well, right? Now, we are going to see that you're going to come to the full moon time November 5th of 2025 with this particular lunation. And then you're going to bring the entire cycle to a close August 2026, okay? So just kind of keep in mind where you're at in the journey of letting this unfold. At the end of the day, about 8:30 p.m. here on Wednesday, we'll see that the moon steps into a short void. Of course, it's about 2 hours until 11:43 p.m. That's again Colorado time. And then the moon will now shift into Gemini. Now the moon has long fingers, so we know that it is in connection, or it's giving some emphasis. It's applying an emphasis to this Jupiter that has now come direct in Gemini as well. So as the moon is traveling here, there's a lot of emotional content to the information that is happening with you. You may also emotionally be wanting to speak out, share out, write out. You're sharing the information in somewhere because it's like you need to verbalize it in order to process what's going on with you. One of the things I keep seeing as well, though, is that this is going to be a couple days, just over the next couple days, where you're going to pay a lot of attention to your lungs, what's happening with your breathing and what's happening with your nervous system. So if you've got sickness around you, make sure you've got that fire cider made so that it can help to burn off and help those immunity spaces. Look for information to be happening. But the thing I would tell you is, because information is flying around the globe so quickly right now, don't let this Gemini moon also get you scared and put you into analysis paralysis. Wait until things are factual and be sure to ask questions. A moon in Gemini needs to ask questions to sort out how it feels. It needs to think about how it feels. You know, what is that bringing up for you? And then sort through the facts. When we're here on Thursday, that energy is going to carry absolutely through. And then Friday brings us to a sextile of Venus and Pluto. And this is a really powerful, more intense kind of aspect, but Venus does soften it. But Venus here is in Aries. Right? Venus here is in Aries, and when air and fire come together, they want to expand. It's very passionate. It's about, you know, there's a power in what you're attracting to you. There's a power in a hug. There's power in affection. There's power in kindness. It's powerful in asking simple questions about value. What do I value? What brings me joy? How do I light myself up? How can I be of help? How do I add my voice to the collective? You know, how do I find and express my authentic self? How can I be authentic in my relationships? These are going to be questions here. Now, another question that I think this sextile opens, just because Pluto is in Aquarius, is the value you're currently placing on tech, technology, social media, and these kinds of things? And what is the value of where it actually fits into your life for its greatest good? At the end of the day, we'll see the sun come into a sextile with Chiron. The sun's bringing light, heat, life, and vitality. So there's a lot of self-awareness happening under here. So some of the questions that maybe you were asking earlier in the day, you're starting to get some answers to them. And I would look for opportunities to see the answers that you were, the answers to the questions you were asking earlier in the day coming up, because you'll be presented with opportunities to genuinely be helpful to people, right? Somebody shows up and they've got a wound and you go, oh, I know how to do that. Someone's worried I'm not going to have enough food or vegetables. And you're like, I actually know how to grow these things so that you have a resource, right? Whatever you've been gathering that information about earlier, the mutual reception of sharing your solution or sharing your pain or sharing a place where you can connect in your current identity with another person. This is really the healing nature of the Sun Chiron sextile, but expect to be helpful. Now, the moon is going to be traveling void of course here early Saturday, and we'll get just a few hours out of it from 12:51 a.m. until just around 4 a.m. The moon's void of course, so let it be down, let it be still, make sure you give yourself some rest, and after that, the moon will shift into Cancer. Now, the moon here is comfortable, and you're going to evaluate the questions very intentionally of how do I feel in my home? How do I feel in my own security? How do I nurture my own security, right? These are going to be questions of emotional nurturing and foundation. This is also a great energy for creating and cooking those creature comforts. Cook meals that feel safe and feel like home and feel warm and feel cozy and feel like they draw you in out of the rain, or they light you up like they have nourished your soul and your intuition and your being at the same time. Looking at those herbs like parsley is just a beautiful Cancerian herb. Sage, aloe, lemon balm, these are all really great if you want to throw them into your recipe. Midday, we're going to see that Mercury now comes into a sextile with Chiron. We've had that trine with Jupiter. Now we've got this sextile with Chiron. So starting from the beginning of the week where there were talks and conversations and decisions being made, and then we're looking at actions that maybe need to be challenged and to be taken in some way, to the end of the week where now Mercury, all of this information and challenge that we've gathered, we're sharing that information. We're thinking critically, but we're thinking in a really sane and healthy way with our new identities about sharing information. But the other thing I want to say about it is that the information you're sharing at the end of the week can be so heart-centered. But what will be required at the end of this week is no matter what information you found out at the beginning, you have to walk your talk at the end of the week. You are either really about that thing or you're not really about it. And it will be clearly indicated in how you are presenting yourself. But remember, the goal here is to have this beautiful connection between your mind, your body, your current understanding of your own identity and being, and bringing it forward in a really sane and helpful way. That energy is going to carry us brilliantly in through Sunday, but Sunday early morning, we see the sun come cazimi with Mercury here in Aquarius. And when the sun and Mercury come together, we make room for blessings. We make room to be blessed with information, with clarity. There's like a clarity that comes. It's a time where communication is also quite soulful. But here, we can make space for the clarity to bring really good news or a pathway forward with something you were working with, or it's just this revelation kind of energy. Mercury being the energy of the messenger of the gods, where he could move between the heavens and the hell, right? And bring information in that intermediate kind of way that allows you to evaluate all the facts or see all of the sides. And this makes for a more nuanced set of decisions that you're going to be making, a more informed perspective, and so on. So look for those rays of the sun to be shining on you as we see this cazimi happen. Now we're going to see Mars here in a trine, Mars still retrograde with Saturn. And this is like, I love the way that my friend Tiffany talks about it. She's like, this is grit and recommit. There's been a lot of change of information happening all week long. So now here on Sunday, you might be going, okay, I have new information. I have new facts. I see a different way to share who I am, what I am. I've just gathered a different resource in terms of information. And now I'm able to recommit to the action or the strategy that I'm going to commit to in order to persevere, to have that courage and to move something forward. Now, what you're moving forward here, or you're making a plan or a strategy to, will be pretty long-standing because it is coming up to this trine with Saturn, which only wants long-term success. So, one of the questions I would ask you to think about as well is where, at this point in the Mars retrograde cycle, are you freed from some kind of pain, some kind of resentment? You see a different way to provide a security for yourself while also making an impact for other people. And are you ready to apply those actions? Because if nothing changes or there's no steps forward, nothing changes and there's no steps forward. That energy is going to take us all the way through Sunday. So it's a busy week, but it is a week that I feel like this week has a pretty dynamic flow. We're gathering a lot at the beginning of the week. We're needing to make some adjustments. And at the end of the week, we decide, am I really going to commit to the adjustments based on new information that I have received and brought in order to participate in a life that is sane, that is in the best arrangement that I could have it possibly be, and to, more importantly, is really well informed. All right, my beautiful friends, I hope you have a great week. Check out this video for your monthly. Check out this next video for your yearly. Get all of the connections that we have to one another in the description box down below. I love you, and I'll see you next week.